Hello and welcome to another episode of the Noobs Guide for Sekiro. We are going to be looking for Hirata Estate. Well, not looking for it. We're going to be, going to it. And we are going to be doing basically the rest of Ashina Outskirts, getting to the very end. Also, this is just really not working. Xbox's system is complete fucking ass. My mic has decided to be complete fucking ass, even though it was working perfectly fine before I did any of this. And, yeah, all that kind of shit is just not working for me. So you might notice the little static sounds in between, because my fucking mic is such ass. So, we'll see how that goes. Either way, for this first area, this is of course right after the mini-boss that we fought last time. This is just simple stealth stuff. This is basically kind of your introduction to stealth. So I'm just kind of going through that. I'm getting some important stuff. I'm going to be talking to the old lady who's going to give me the bell for Hirata Estate. After this, we're going to be fighting the two mini-bosses that are left in this area. The Chained Ogre, which a lot of people have trouble with in their first playthrough, and the General Tenzin Yamachi. Something like that is his name. So we'll be fighting them. We'll be fighting the Great Serpent. And then we'll be going to Hirata Estate, and we'll defeat the Shinobi Hunter there. So that's kind of the plan for this episode of the guide. What we're going to be doing. Next time, we're going to be trying to kill Gyobu, and possibly continuing through Hirata Estate, maybe even fighting Lady Butterfly. So, either way, though. I don't really have any tips about this area. It's just a simple stealth area. It's very easy, even for inexperienced players. Right here, this is the old lady. But first, we're heading under the floorboards. There's 3 light coin purses, which is 300 gold, that you can easily pick up, which is extremely good for early game. So, definitely pick that up. I got the old lady. Also, I would like to mention I did miss the Robert's Firecrackers in this episode. I totally forgot about them. I'll be getting them either next episode or a future episode. Actually, probably next episode, because they'll be useful for fighting Gyobu. Either way, we just talked to the old lady. You talk to the old lady, you can get the Bell Charm. And then if you go to the Sculptor's Idol, which we'll be doing, or not the Sculptor's Idol, the Buddha statue in the dilapidated temple. If you go there, you offer the bell, or the Bell Charm, or whatever it's called. Then you can go to Hirata Estate, which is what we're going to be doing later. But for now, we're going to be heading through the rest of Ashina. So, something about this part right here, there's obviously this cannon guy. He can be pretty dangerous. Once you get up close to him, he's pretty easy. But when you're far away from him, he can shoot basically fucking homing nukes at you. And they do a lot of damage. So, be wary of that. These guys down here, I'd recommend just skipping them. Because, you want to kill the cannon guy. So, just get to him. Don't try to fight these guys with the cannon guy shooting at you. That's just a bad idea. So, yeah. But either way, we're about to get to the next Sculptor's Idol. Right over this next wall. And this Sculptor's Idol, there's multiple things near it. There's the Merchant dude I will be talking to. There's also, of course, the Chained Ogre mini-boss. So, we can, deal with that. Now, the Chained Ogre is a boss, or a mini-boss, that a lot of people have always had trouble with. It's kind of the first real roadblock in the game. And even me with my skills, I still don't consider myself to be consistent at killing the Chained Ogre first try. I mean, I'm consistent at killing him in 2 tries, but not in 1 try. I do kill him first try in this recording. But either way, this is the Merchant, Ariyama. I think that's his name. And he says that he knows about the Knight. That Knight is the Hirata Estate Knight. There's this whole story around it. And you have to pay him 50 gold for information about that Knight. You also will make him have a startup as a merchant. I recommend doing that. Even if you died a bunch, you lost all your gold, I'd recommend farming out 50 gold. Now this eavesdrop right here, it's going to say that the Chained Ogre is weak to fire, which we aren't going to be able to make use of, but you could go to Hirata Estate before this and get the Flame Barrel, which I'll show where that is later. And then you can use that against the Chained Ogre. It's pretty effective. It's effective against any enemy that has red eyes, so keep that in mind. This Chained Ogre here, we're not actually going to fight him right away. This is going to be my first death. Not death, really. More so resurrection death kind of thing. But yeah, I died there because I kept trying to Mikiri that, and then I didn't get the deflections right after I realized I couldn't Mikiri that. So yeah, I'm so used to the Mikiri counter. We'll be getting that later in just a second. But either way, this is the cutscene. Laura will take my blood and live again, then you can resurrect. Or skills of life. Now you can kill anybody. Now this chained ogre guy, we are actually going to be getting a stealth kill on him. There's a very, very, very easy way to do that. Obviously, you got to run away from him. You can basically get a stealth kill on 99.9% of mini-bosses. I think I said that in the last episode. And even if like you have to alert them for the first time, you can just run away and make them forget about you, like we're doing right now. So now that he's forgotten about us, we can easily sneak back up on him and split the fight in half, which is awesome. You can do this on almost any mini-boss. You can't do it on any bosses that I know of. I mean, actually, there are ways to skip phases of a certain later boss by, like, death blows early, but it's not really like a stealth thing. Oh, I guess it kind of is. It's more of a scripted stealth kind of thing. Either way, that's the first teleport taken out. Now, this ogre, like I was talking about before, he's a bigger enemy, so you're going to want to, you know, not instead of trying to deflect his attacks, you're going to be trying to dodge his attacks. And I recommend not just dodging, but sprinting. Sprinting really helps with bigger enemies because they're slower. So if you're moving really fast, they can't get you, which is what I'm doing. I'm sprinting around him and I'm attacking him over and over. But his grabs are the main thing to look out for. They're hard to dodge, and most times, in a lot of cases, they actually have really, really horrible hitboxes. So be careful of the grabs. They can grab you even if they look like they won't grab you. So stay far, far away from them. Other than that, it's a pretty simple boss. Just constantly sprint around him. When the perilous attack thing shows up, make sure you're the hell away from him. And other than that, there's not really much else advice that I can give about the Chained Ogre, because he's honestly not that hard. He's a little bit weird, a little bit strange to fight, but he's not that hard. Right here, we kind of had a standoff until he decided to do that, and that means 2 or 3 free hits, which is very nice. A lot of his attacks are very slow, very deliberate, and it's very easy to bait them out. Especially his falling over attack and his lunging with a kick attack. I would also like to recommend, or like to mention, not recommend, that his kick attack that he just did is basically a one-shot. With the health that you have at this point in the game, it's a one-shot no matter what. I don't think there's a way to avoid getting one-shotted by that move, besides maybe Ungo's Sugar, which I didn't mention, but Ungo's Sugar, the blue sugar item, it'll make you take less damage. There's also Akko's Sugar that we've gotten. That's the red sugar. That will make your attacks do more damage. And there's 2 other sugars. There's Gotchin Sugar. Actually, there's technically 3, but 2 other main ones. There's Gotchin Sugar, which makes stealth be better. And there's Goken Sugar, which makes you take less posture damage. And then there's also kind of an extra one. There's Yashigaru Sugar, which is like another red one. The Goken's is yellow and Gotchin's is like lighter blue. But the Yashigaru's is like a dark red. That one will make your health be less, but it will make your attack be way, way more. So, kind of interesting. Just keep those in mind if you ever are in a situation where you want to have extra attack power or take less damage or something like that. But yeah, we just killed the Chained Ogre, and we're going to head on. Right after the Chained Ogre, there's yet another mini-boss, and we're going to be killing him. That's Tenzin Yamauchi. Also right here, you can see there's the Nightjar Monocular, which is basically like the binoculars of like other games. And there's the Gourd Seed, another one of them, so we can get up to 3. But we're not doing that yet, not just yet. And now what I recommend, because this is basically, this mini-boss teaches you about crowd control, stealth, like trying to stealth out all the enemies surrounding the mini-boss so you can fight the mini-boss one-on-one. And I would recommend coming from the back, getting the Sculptor's Idol, and then coming from the back, because it is a lot easier to stealth the whole area without people seeing you if you come from the back. So keep that in mind and try to, you know, do that. But yeah, that is really the main point of this fight. It's very similar to the Naomori Kawawata fight, the first ever mini-boss in the game. So it's not like it's anything new for most people, unless you skipped that boss for whatever reason. Either way, stealth, it's basically a stealth section, and it's very easy to sneak up on all the enemies. Unfortunately, I do get spotted here. The enemies in this game, sometimes they are horrible at spotting you, and sometimes they're amazing at spotting you, you know what I mean? You can run right past them and they'll be like, wait a minute, was that guy just running past me? Sometimes your nose is sticking out around a corner and the guy's like, wait a minute, there's a dude right there. It's like, very inconsistent. And I just got shot right there. Really unlucky. Normally the enemies with guns don't have that good aim. But that time, he did. These kinds of enemies up here, who's banging the pots and pans, those enemies, I don't believe they can attack you. I've never gotten attacked by one. I'm not entirely sure if they can attack you. But they will try to alert all the other enemies. They'll bang their like pots and pans together or whatever. And they'll alert all the other enemies that there's someone in the area. So you gotta not do that. You gotta not alert them, you know what I mean? But either way, there's only a few enemies left in this area. Right here, I got spotted by Tenzin Yamauchi. And at this point, I'm trying to kill the last enemy who's guarding Tenzin Yamauchi. I don't want to fight him yet. I want to fight him one-on-one, which is what you should always try to do for mini-bosses and bosses. So yeah, now, the thing is, normal enemies, it's pretty easy to get away from them. Like a simple grapple into a tree and hiding in a bush might get away from them. A mini-boss, it's very difficult to get away. You have to run far across the map, and basically, it's based on distance. Not really like how good you're hidden. But you can see right there, Tenzin Yamauchi's health bar disappeared. Once that happens, you know you've lost him. Now, you could jump down there. You could go to that ledge. And then if you continue down there, you will fight the first headless in the game. Headless are, well, they're headless enemies. And you basically can't damage them unless you use an item called Divine Confetti, which is an item that we picked up as we were going down there. Don't know if you noticed that, but you can use Divine Confetti to like imbue your sword with a certain effect, and that will let you damage apparition type enemies like Headless and a few other types of mini bosses. Those bosses do not drop prayer beads, so don't worry about that for trying to max out your health. But the Headless drop certain like they're called spirit fall items. They're basically like Ungos, Akos, Sugars, but in reusable form that use spirit emblems like your prosthetic tools do. And I don't think they're as effective as the other ones. Like if you just use an Akko Spirit Fall, I don't think it's as good as an Akko Sugar, but you can use it over and over, and it only costs 3 Spirit Emblems. So if you want that kind of stuff, kill the Headless, although not right now. Do not do that. You have like 1 Divine Confetti at this point, and if you mess it up, then, well, that's all you get. Headless, they also make you move slower, so they're very, very dangerous enemies. They use Terror, which can kill you instantly, and they're just not a very fun time, in my opinion. I won't be killing them in this playthrough because I have no reason to. I don't use Spirit Fall items very much, and, you know, I can basically explain how to kill them with a simple tutorial. But right now we're just fighting Tenzin Yamauchi. I'm not really talking about the fight because it's very easy. It's similar to Naomori Kawawata. So, either way, Tenzin Yamauchi is dead. Third prayer bead, we only need 1 more to get our first health upgrade. And we just got a second skill point, which is pretty important. So yeah, now we can rest at the Sculptor's Idol, try to regain all of our heals and all of our health and all that kind of stuff. And we can head down into Serpent Valley, or I think it's called Serpent Valley. I don't know what it's called, but it's probably called Serpent Valley. Because, well, there's a serpent here, and it's not just any normal serpent, it's quite a big one. You've probably all been to this point. But if you haven't, I recommend leaving right now because that is an awesome, awesome moment. Now, this is kind of a boss. Not really. Some people consider it a boss. I don't consider it a boss. I more so consider it just kind of a environmental hazard. Kind of like the dragons in Dark Souls 3. But it doesn't matter if it's a boss or not. It doesn't give you a memory like bosses do. It doesn't give you a prayer bead like mini bosses do, so it's kind of just an extra little thing. But it's fun. It's interesting. You can kill it. You're not going to be able to kill it right now, but we are going to injure it right now. So, yeah, this is extremely easy. Just following kind of what I'm doing. It's a very scripted fight, a very stealth scripted fight. Then you hide in here. The snake kind of notices you a little bit, brings his eye to the front of the little hut, and then you can stab him in the eye. But he's not dead, so keep that in mind. There actually are 2 snakes in this game. 2 giant snakes. 2 great serpents is what they're actually called. Right here, there's the snap seeds. They'll break illusions. They're useful against 2 upcoming bosses. Well, I mean, one is close. The other is, like, way further into the game. But there's 2 bosses that they're useful against. And they're pretty rare, so I'd recommend trying to get them as much as possible. Here, I kind of was freaking out because the snake kind of recovered from getting hit in the eye. So I was worried he was going to attack me or something. But luckily, he didn't. And we can head on through to the last area of Ashina Outskirts. Now, this is where you're going to fight the first actual boss in the game, which is Asataka Oniwa. We're not going to fight him today. We're going to fight him next time. Instead, we're going to go to the Hirata Estate, and we're going to defeat the first mini-boss there. Now, Hirata Estate, a lot of people have their own opinion on when you should tackle Hirata Estate, because it's meant for kind of early game, but there's also, you know, there's certain bosses there. There's one boss. There's a boss there that some people consider for more of mid-game. And I would consider doing the first half of Hirata Estate, which is what we're going to do right now, like really, really early, and doing the last half more of a mid-game point. Because, you know, it's good to kind of get that extra prayer bead from the mini-boss, and to kind of get into Hirata Estate beforehand. So, yeah. Right here we're talking to Emma. We can equip our new Gourd Seed. Hopefully. Yeah, okay. So now we got 3 heals, which is nice. And she was kind of talking about the Bell Charm that we're going to use to go to Hirata Estate. And right there, we were given the Shinobi Esoteric Text. Now, you're going to get multiple of these throughout the pathway of the game. And the first one you get is the Shinobi Esoteric Text, and then you get a Prosthetic Esoteric Text. And then, well, there's a few different ones that you have to do certain quest lines, like the Ashina Esoteric Text, the Senpo Esoteric Text, and also the Mushin, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but either way. These are basically skill trees. The Shinobi one is kind of Shinobi Arts. We are getting the Makiri counter, which I would recommend getting that the first thing you do. You need 2 skill points to get it. Do that first. You can see right there, Hanbei, we've unlocked a new training option with him. If you want to keep doing those, then feel free. I'm not going to be doing them in this playthrough. I only did the first few to kind of show him off. But the Makiri counter, basically, you can press B, like a dodge, when an enemy does a perilous thrust, or I think it's just any thrust in general, and your character will step on the weapon, and then it will do a hell of a lot of posture damage. A lot of posture damage. It's really good. It's kind of overpowered, and it's extremely easy. The opening for it is way easier than the deflection window for a perilous attack, so I would definitely recommend getting the Makiri counter. I'm kind of quite adept with the Makiri counters, quite fucking good at them. That's kind of where I shine, is with Makiri counters. So, you know, that's why I especially want to get that very early on. Also, the first mini-boss in this area really relies on perilous thrust attacks. So you're going to want to have the Makiri counter to face this mini-boss, otherwise it's a lot harder. This guy here, basically, you can talk to him because you're the son of Owl, and you can ask what happened here. It says that thieves have broken into the Hirata Estate, and it's 3 years ago, so this is like a past memory. There's actually, you will be able to come back here after you beat this whole area, and after you beat the boss here. There is actually a second boss you can fight here, but normally you'd only go after that if you were going after a specific ending. You can go after that, regardless of what ending you're going after, as long as you aren't going after the bad ending. But normally you'd only go after it if you were going to go after a certain ending. So yeah, right here, these are treasure carps. They'll drop treasure carp scales, and they're basically like crystal lizards of this game. Now this guy right here, there's a dude. You might have heard him talk or like kind of speak up. He's a dude sitting in a pot. There's 2 of them in the game. They're called pot nobles, and the treasure carp scales that you give him, treasure carps, you can give to them basically as currency, and you can buy all kinds of shit. Some of them are like gourds and healing items. Some things are late game upgrade materials that you can buy. There's a lot of interesting stuff. That mask fragment left, or no, that's the right one that you can see. The other pot noble will sell another fragment of that, and then the final fragment of that is sold by a memorial mob person, which I don't think you've been introduced to them yet, but they are kind of little tents. You can buy the firecrackers off them in Ashina Outskirts. I completely missed that. But those guys, you can buy one of them near the abandoned dungeon. You can buy the final fragment. That, if you get all 3 of the fragments of the mask, the left, right, and dragon fragments, you'll be able to exchange 5 skill points for attack power. Do not try to get that early on. I mean, for one, you can only get it in, like, the last area of the game. You can only get the last part of it anyway. And for 2, it's like, you want to upgrade your skill trees first. That's more important. Because you still get attack power upgrades from defeating bosses. You'll get things called memories from defeating bosses, and if you confront those memories, you'll get attack power increase. And by that, I don't mean you have to fight the boss again. That's what I thought when I first played this game, that confronting memory, you'd have to fight the boss again. That's not how it works. You literally just click confront memory, and boom, you're done. So don't worry about that. I know a lot of people have probably gotten scared, like, oh shit, I have to fight every boss twice. No, you don't. Unless, you know, it's one of the bosses that comes back, because there are like 4 or 5 bosses in the game that you actually fight twice. There's a total of about, depending on how you look at it, anywhere from like 14 to 17 bosses in the game. If you consider the Great Serpent boss, that's the boss. And also the 2 final bosses that you can face. Basically, depending, if you get the bad ending, there's 2 bosses you face, and if you get any of the other endings, there's another 2 bosses that you face, but they kind of are considered one boss. It's weird, but either way, we'll be tackling every single boss that you can do in a normal playthrough with the base ending. So we're not going to be tackling the final boss of the bad ending. But you could do that if you backed up your save. So keep that in mind. If you want to get all the endings in one playthrough, I don't know if you can play through the game 4 times, because there's 4 endings, then definitely do that. And don't worry about what ending you want, because if you don't want, like, because I'm getting the base ending, the normal ending, the ending that you'd get on a blind playthrough, because you don't know how to do any of the other endings. If you want to do another ending, I will kind of explain how to do them in this playthrough. And also you can kind of look it up. Don't worry about an ending until you get to Senpo Temple, which is an area in the game. It's kind of a mid-game area, maybe an early mid-game area. You get to it, it's like probably the 4th area you'd reach, or maybe the 5th, depending on how you go through areas. And basically, there is where you'll have the first hints of choosing an ending. But it really doesn't matter until you get much further through the game. But here you can see I ended up getting overwhelmed. It's very easy to get ganked in this game. Ganking, if you don't know, if you're new to the Souls games kind of thing, ganking is just a bunch of enemies fighting you at once. It's like being ganged up on. But basically, that's what happened. So try not to let that happen to you. I know there's a lot of enemies in this area and in a lot of other areas, but don't worry about it. It's not... You don't really have to kill the enemies. That's kind of a thing with Souls games and games made by the developer of this game, From Software. You never have to kill all the enemies. If you want to, you can just run past all the enemies until you get to a boss or a mini-boss. Of course, you're not going to be getting any practice, you're not going to be gaining any skill for that, but if you are really annoyed with the area, or you just lost to the boss again and you want to get back to the boss fast without fighting the enemies, then just do that. So yeah. Although there's not very big boss runs in this game, like between when you die and having to go back to a boss, unlike in other Souls games. But either way, you'll see me tackling this big gank of there's probably 6, 7, maybe even up to 10 enemies here, depending on how you get spotted, how early you get spotted. There's also a few dogs. You'll notice me throwing shurikens at the dogs. That kills them instantly. Keep that in mind. It's a very useful thing to use to kill the dogs very easily. But either way, this bonfire right here, you can pick up the flame barrel, which is, you can use it into or you can turn it into a flame vent. And then it's basically a flamethrower. It's a shinobi prosthetic tool. So, yeah, it's quite nice. But as we're continuing through here, there's that guy I just passed, didn't talk to him. That guy, he'll say that there's the shinobi axe in this area, which is another prosthetic tool. You can put an axe on your arm. We're going to get that in a second. And he'll say, like, to get it and to split their heads open and stuff. So we'll be doing that in just a second. Well, actually, we won't, because we're not going to equip it until the end of the episode. But we'll be getting it. Either way, that's a shortcut. That takes you right back to the start. That's what these games are kind of about. They're about shortcuts, world interconnectivity. There's not too many shortcuts in this game, but there's a lot of world interconnectivity. So, it's fun. But, either way, continuing on, you can head through that shortcut. Now you don't have to go through, you know, the gank fight with all the drunken douchebags. It's very good to do that, obviously. But we're going to be running past a lot of the enemies up here. We're about to get to the first mini-boss. But first, we have to make this side detour to the shinobi axe of the monkey. There's 2 dudes guarding it. You can sneak up on one of them and get a kill for free. The other guy you're going to have to fight. I mean, you could just run away, but where's the fun in stealthing 2 dudes by running away and taking like a minute and a half to kill 2 dudes? Exactly. There's like no fun in that. So yeah. But either way, 2 dudes are dead. There is another dude over in that house, but we don't need to worry about him. In here, you can open this up, and there's an item pickup, which is the shinobi axe of the monkey, another prosthetic tool. which would be your fourth or maybe third at this point. If you didn't get the firecrackers, like me, who forgot to get them, I will be getting them next time, don't worry. They'll be useful against the first boss. But right here you can see these shields. These shields, and basically any enemy with the shield, you can use the axe, and it will break the shield and allow you to instantly kill the enemy. But we got a mini boss up here, but he's surrounded by enemies, so we got to take out these enemies quick and fast and easy. So there's this dude just standing right there, easy to get the jumping death blow on him. This guy, you can just run up to him and dodge his bow shot very easily. That's the mini boss right there. He just spotted us. He's going to tell us how to counter thrust attacks, but we're going to run away because we are trying to kill the other enemies in this area. There's two enemies up here. This guy, you can just overload him with attacks. Boom, he's dead. The axe guy, a bit more complicated. I got hit a lot there. We're not going to be taking out the axe guy because we are going to be trying to kill the shinobi hunter Enshin of Missen, or whatever. I call him Ishen of Mishen because it's fucking hilarious. Because that's such a shit name. But, you know. Ishen of Mishen, Enshin of Missen, whatever you want to call him. I prefer Ishen of Mishen because it's fucking retarded. But, either way. Now, as you'll see right here, he's not forgetting about us. The other enemy, the guy with the axe, forgot about us. But Ishen of Mishen, he still is looking at us. He knows that we're up there. So we're not going to be able to simply, you know, get the death blow on him unless we ran away. But I'm not doing that. I'm no pussy. I'm going to fight him head on. Also because this mini-boss with the Mikiri counter is a fucking joke. And I say that, but I'm pretty sure his, like, second attack I got hit by. So either way, there's a sweep attack. It's pretty rare. He doesn't normally do that. But this attack, I've always hated long-winded thrust attacks. They're very hard to Mikiri counter. You'll see me use the Mikiri counter actually effectively in just a second. But the long-winded thrust attacks are very hard to Mikiri counter. I'd recommend being more careful with them. Maybe even just trying to dodge them. But this kind of stuff, very easy to Mikiri. And he's already lost his first life. So now we can easily just overload him with attacks and try to get the Mikiri off anytime he does stuff like that. Very, very easy. But now he's got a long-winded thrust, but we did get it that time. And overload him with attacks, he's dead. Ishen of Mishen is no more. And we got our fourth prayer bead, which means we can now upgrade our health and posture, which is great. That's awesome. You can do that 10 times out of the course of the game. And it's quite nice. We have a sculptor title here. I'd recommend not going past this point for a while. Because everything past this point is a lot harder than everything before this point, so keep that in mind. First prayer necklace, you can see we did it right there with enhanced physical attributes. That's how we did it. And now you may notice we have more health. We also have more posture, but posture, you don't really notice that because your bar stays the same size. But yeah. Loading screen. Everybody loves loading screens, but you know, I don't really have anything to say, so you know. And this is going to be the end of this, so thank you for watching. Hopefully you'll tune in next time. We're going to be looking at Yo Masataka Oniwa, but yeah.
Well, yes,
bye.
I knew that.